Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, having been elected to the high office of the President of the Republic of Ghana.
Permanent quota, or even if not, permanent posting and employment, like how our fellow training college used to get. Thank you. That's what I wanted to ask him, to tell him.
Thank you very much. I'm sure that in due course, perhaps some way, somehow, we can get the ministers to get you some answers. But I have Adam Abdul Wahab, communication and media relations officer with the GFD. You have some questions?
Yes. I'm not Adam. My name is Larry.
Okay, you are Adam, I believe. Okay, so you just still stay with us because we can still have some time for you. You wanted to ask the Vice President some questions. What are they?
Yes, I wanted to ask the Vice President 2 questions. The first question I wanted to ask him was about, there have been some level of discriminations against persons with disability in all sectors of lives. So I wanted to find out from the Vice President what are some of the plans they are putting in place to deal with some of these discriminations. Example is like the program is going on, we have our brothers who are deaf. How do they assess that program? Persons with disability have issues at the law court, and at the end of the day, the case ends not in their favor. But when you analyze it, you could actually have a hope that for this case, there is an opportunity for the persons with disability. The second question I wanted to ask about access to public services by all citizens. If you look at some institutions in Ghana, very good example is the passport office. Persons with all kind of persons go there, including persons with disability, to access passport. They go. People spend number of days, months, weeks, and they are not able to get their passport. I wanted to find out what the Vice President and the MPP government is putting in place to minimize this stress on the citizens.
And you can trust us, since you said this on Joy News, both on TV and on radio, that you will hear, you will help some people in authority hear you and provide some answers very soon to you as well. Well, we're still here talking to people. It is the big project here for us at Joy News, where we organize this town hall meeting for people to ask the Vice President some questions. People couldn't ask the questions that they had because of time, but we still give them the opportunity to speak out of their minds. Nana Otuo Champong is here with me. Sir, you had some questions you couldn't ask. What are your impressions?
I have rather comments to make on the banking sector. The issue of now all this money is going to Bank of Ghana is very good. The only issue is Bank of Ghana only has 7 offices in 7 locations in the country. So I think that one will have to be looked at carefully. And also on the DKM issue, we shouldn't add companies like God is Love, because that is not a microfinance. That was simply a club, a friendly club, and therefore they don't come under regulation as DKM was. So those are some of the issues that needs to be looked at.
Were you impressed with the answers given to the questions that were put to the Vice President today?
Very, very impressed. And what he shared, the 103 achievements, were very commendable. So we encourage them to do more.
I see. So that is Nana Otuo Champong and his comments there. What's your name, sir? What's your name, sir, and what are your impressions of the program so far?
Yep. My name is Larry Atipo. I think it is a very good program. The Vice President, discharged the duties very well. He spoke very well. He answered the questions very well. He was very clear. He left no doubt in anybody's mind that, they are committed to what they promised the people of Ghana. My question, however, was on the disposal of plastic in the country. They are dealing very well with Galamsey, but I believe that if we don't deal with the plastic issue, it will become the next challenge we have to confront as we are dealing with Galamsey. So we need to have a program in place quickly to ensure that we clean up as we use plastic.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for your thoughts on this. I still have two gentlemen with me. Let me start with you. What are your impressions of the program so far? The answers as well to the questions.
Actually, for me, I think the Vice President has really done well. Actually, for the first time, this is a time we have come to a time where a Vice President has met the masses to discuss about the economic issues. For that matter, I think he has really done well. The question I wanted to ask the President is about the budget. Before the budget, they were claiming that the government was not having the fiscal space to be able to implement a lot of the policy. But recently, we had an information that the Ghana revenue has made significant improvement when it comes to its first quarter. And the second mechanism the government was putting in place was about the leakages, trying to do away with the leakages. And currently, the finance minister was telling us that almost 5,000 ghost names have been removed from the payroll or have been cleared from the payroll. So I was thinking that per all this massive improvement in our expenditure, I was thinking that will the government do away with the IMF bailout, or will the government reduce it? Because the IMF bailout will come with a lot of conditionalities which does not augur for the youth. So as a TASCO member, I think that is what I wanted to ask the Vice President, because we had a lecture with him and it was like when we are in power, we're able to do with it. Even though the government promised us within April, they will do away with the IMF bailout. But I'm thinking that the economy is moving forward. With all this in place, I think government should look at the IMF bill, whether within the December, we should do away with it.
Okay, what's your name again?
Yahuza from Tescom Fraternity.
Okay, thank you very much. Sir, what's your name and what are your impressions of the program so far?
I am David Koblanko Georgie. The Vice President did very well, touching on key critical economic issue. And I was also very happy to know that within 100 days, we have about 8 billion as our foreign reserve, and that was very impressive. My question was that in terms of the cocoa, he made mention that government in the 100 days has imported 300,000 metric tons of fertilizer for cocoa production. And looking at it, within 100 days, we have importation of fertilizer for the volume of about 300 metric tons. Looking at what was the government doing in terms of local production to boost the cocoa sector, for that matter, fertilizer production. And also in terms of the one district, one factory project, key critical component was to do with power production. And though he made mention of renewable energy, but then he didn't point out key issues or steps that the government is taking to ensure that that will be set up.
I see. Well, I believe that some way, somehow, we could get some of the ministers to respond to you in due course. I have another person here with me. Do remember that we're here at the law complex, where we're bringing you a live town hall meeting. Vice President Bawodu Bawumia left not so long ago. Sir, what's your name and what are your impressions of the program so far?
Gabriel Francis Ishen. I think the platform has been a laudable one, and I think the multimedia group of companies must be commended for this. I mean, it's a great opportunity to interact, with the presidency, for them to, outline what they are going to do for us, and and also this can be seen as a self-evaluatory exercise in terms of where they came from, what they came to meet, and what they're aspiring to do. And in a way, I mean, you can see this as, let's say, a SWOT analysis of what the government, came to meet. And basically what I wanted to ask the Vice President, which I couldn't get opportunity, has to do with research. We realize that research plays a very fundamental role within any country. And you realize that the advanced countries are spending close to over $2 1.5% of their GDP on research. Ghana currently is spending less than 0.5%. And if we are to make any advancement or headway in our development, then we must invest so much into research. I think about a month ago, the Minister of Education talked about the setting up of a national research fund. I don't know the extent to which that is basically what I wanted to know. And also, he also made mention of, about the disbursement of about 55 million cedis to the Ghana, the University Teachers Association to pay for their books and allowances. But up to now, I don't think anything has been translated, physical in terms of hitting their bank account. So that is basically what I wanted to know.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming. I believe that even though your questions weren't answered, that in due course, perhaps you could get an answer. But this will be my final interaction so that we cross over to Kumasi in the Ashanti region and get some reactions from there as well. Sir, your name and your impressions of the program so far. What were you expecting to hear that perhaps you did not hear?
Well, my name is Naya Mumunidimbi, and the program was quite okay. But there's one question I would have loved to ask the Vice President. What are the things that he coming from Bank of Ghana, the black market, where that I have evidence to even show that you could see that the bank managers are the people giving out this money to these people to be.
That's a very serious allegation. Did you recognize that?
Yes, it is true. It is true, but it is very, this country, it is not easy for people to come out and you've seen that there are a lot of people are coming out. That is why the city was just running, they say, you soon boot or what?
So you wanted to ask him what?
That what are the measures that are going to be put in place that these black market guys will not be operating by the roadside? That is all what I wanted to ask him.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much for your time here on the show. Do remember that this show was put together by JoyNews, but of course we were supported by the Agric Development Bank, Papa's Pizza, Adisha Estate, Holy Insecticide Spray and Coil, and Give Us Scientific Herbal. These people supported us, and we say very big thanks to them. But the president did indicate that whether or not you voted for his party, he is president for all. But we know that there's one particular region in this country that voted massively as well, that always actually vote the party in government, and that's the Ashanti region. Erastus Asari Donko is standing by in that region to bring you responses and reactions from that region, because they also monitored live. Erastus, you can take it away from here.
Well, thank you very much. And in Kumasi here, we have our audience in the newsroom of Love 99.5 FM. And they have been monitoring this with keen interest indeed, watching the Vice President give us 103 achievements in 100 days. It cuts across energy and other things. And that is what my guests here will want to pass a few comments on. And so with me here, Dr. Ebenezer Usu-Sechere is a lecturer with the UDS Tamale Department of Development Studies. I also have here Mr. Gordon Newlove Asamoah, also with the Center for Economic and Business Research. And behind me, I also have ardent listeners of Love 99.5 FM who joined us to watch the 100 days as well. I have Pato with me, and there is another gentleman here. We're going to have a chat and take their submissions as well. Let me start with you, Dr. Sechere. So you've listened to the Vice President, 100 days in office. So your impression so far?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think this is expected of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, very eloquent, and he can deliver very well. Well, many of the things that he talked about were things that are in the pipeline, and like he said, they are going to start materializing from September 1, 2017. Of course, I mean, this is something like somebody who has set his questions, write his exams, and then he's marking his own scripts. And of course, you can also see that's an extension of the State of the Nation's address and many of the things that they have put in their manifesto. I mean, he also talked about the Galamsey menace and the things that he needs to do. In fact, what really touched my heart was the bringing back of allowances for teachers, allowances for nurses, and for the fact that they have already trained 1,400 teachers in the area of ICT. Now, if I had the opportunity, I would have asked him, what is the brain behind setting 3 development funds? He talked about the Northern Development Fund, a development fund for the Middle Belt, and then also one for the coastal area. I mean, what is the thinking behind that? Now, beyond just establishing the fund, what are the specifics? Because we have seen many of such development funds. I mean, the simple one that everybody can remember is the SADA. It came and just fizzled into thin air. Nobody saw actually what SADA came to achieve. So if I had the opportunity, I would have asked him, what will go into the specifics, especially in the Northern Development Fund, such that we wouldn't be planting trees in the dry season, such that we will not be rearing guinea fowl, and then when there is time for us to give account of them, we will not be able to trace them. But all in all, I think he has given a good account of himself, and he has painted a picture of what his government is set to do.
Were there areas that you expected to come that perhaps was not touched on?
Well, anytime they speak, they forget about sports. And you also realize that they are over-concentrating in secondary education. So I was asking, what is in store for tertiary level education? I mean, you agree with me that many of the polytechnics, I think 8 of them have now become technical universities. So what is the plan for them? Again, they also concentrate so much on free SHS, what is at the basic level. I mean, from preschool to JSS 3, what is the catch there? Then those of us in the tertiary institution, just beyond the establishment of the National Research Fund, which is going to be assessed by anybody who is engaged in research, just beyond our book and research allowance, what is the catch for tertiary level education in this country, especially so far as the universities are concerned? I think these are the areas that I think they should concentrate more, and then also in the area of sports, because Ghana sports is just becoming one way. The Black Stars, nothing more, nothing less. We go, we disgrace ourselves, money go down the drain, and you don't seem to hear anything. I think these are the areas that I would have loved that he also touched on. But like I said, it's just a pre-program. They want to start many of these things in September 1, 2017. So maybe we all live to see.
Now, we've had some new policies announced by the Vice President. For example, getting all government agencies to open accounts with the Bank of Ghana so that expenditures could be tracked. What other new things did you get from the Vice President delivery?
Well, first and foremost, I'd like to commend Multimedia for making the platform available for the Vice President to give us some of the things that they've done within the first 100 days. Every election after election, the first 100 days, we all talk about it on air. We do our own analysis, and then normally we don't have this kind of opportunity always to ask the Vice President or the President what they have done and what they intend doing. So it's a good platform to start with. I will commend the Vice President for the delivery, well thought through, made so many things that we didn't know. The little problem is maybe the time span is very short, so a lot of things that would have gone into it, some of the questions that we would have loved to ask them, we couldn't get opportunity. So probably next time, when you're organizing something like that, you look at the time frame, invite maybe some other ministers together with the Vice President, so that any areas that the President or the Vice may not be able to answer, those ministers can also come in and then be able to answer. Some of the things that the Vice President talked about is about all the government institutions setting up accounts at the Bank of Ghana. The President said he wants to protect the public purse. So it's a good way to start from there, making sure that every account that are being operated by every government institutions have their account at the Bank of Ghana so that they can track any transaction that goes on there. As and when money are deposited in there, as and when money are withdrawn, we are able to detect that this money has been withdrawn and is going to this area. So I think it's one of the new things that the government has introduced that will go a long way to curb the corruption that goes on. Another thing that the Vice President also talked about is, which is new thing, is the value for money audit department that has been set up at the Procurement Authority, so that at the end of the day, when the procurement process is going on, they can do proper value for money audit. Then you know that this thing that we want to do, we are going to have the benefit for it. Not that we do sole sourcing, and then at the end of the day, you analyze and realize that most of the things that are in there could have been purchased at lower prices, and therefore we don't get value for money for those things. So with the new department being set up, I think it will also go a long way to help protect the public purse, as the President has promised.
Now, 100 days in office, your own assessment?
Well, to be honest with you, 100 days in office is too short a time to do proper assessment. Just that it gives you indication of what is to come. So I would say that so far, so good. The foundation has been laid. If you look at the kind of ministers, the kind of economic team that has been put together from the beginning, you could see that, yes, it inspires confidence. The budget was read, and the budget give hope to businesses, which I said is business friendly. My only concern in the 100 days, probably everybody's concern, has been the security situation in the country, particularly in the Ashanti region. Over the past few months, of about 3 weeks now, all the things that have been going on, I think the president has to put his feet down and make sure that everybody who is supposed to be responsible for security in the region is held responsible, so that any security lapses that will occur, somebody should be held responsible. So other than that, I think it's a good start, and let's see how the end will justify the means.
You had the vice president's response to that particular question on vigilante groups and all that. Were you convinced?
Not too convinced, but then personally, I believe that the police has a lot to do. The president will come out and say whatever statement they have to say. For me, I don't even know why president will come and be issuing statement. Let the police do their work. The police should take people on. If you commit a crime, you don't need the president to come and tell you this person has committed a crime, so arrest the person. The police should just do their job as a matter of course. And then the only when I want the president to come in is when the police are relaxed, when they are not doing their job. Don't come and talk. Sack whoever is in charge. Replace whoever have to be replaced. Make sure that people are working and that not talking. Let's do less talking and more action, so that people will take us serious, that if we do anything contrary to the law, the police will hold us responsible and we're going to face the law. But when we are talking all the time and these things are going on, nobody will take you serious.
Let me go back and speak with some of my people here who joined us this morning to talk. And please join me here. Okay, so we have an ardent listener of Love FM, and he came in here to join us, watch the 100 days time with Bawumia. Pato, he's called. So let me take you as an ordinary citizen on the streets. Your assessment of the Vice President's delivery today, were you impressed? What is it?
Let me say thumbs up to multimedia for this opportunity given us to interact with the Vice President. To me, I heard people talking about DKM, Justa Motors, and always on radio, papers, they always talk about Justa Motors, DKM. But there is one thing that we are forgetting. We are here when Noble Dream did the same thing to us. We haven't heard anything. But during campaign time, our politicians go out there and say DKM, Justa Motors. What about, Noble Dream? My money is with Noble Dream, and we are not hearing anything. So to me, I think it's time, when mentioning the name of Justa Motors, DKM, Noble Dream needs to be mentioned too, because a lot of people have their money over there. I know a certain power who have been saving and having this money, 40 million, and now the person cannot get this money. So I think we need to, do something about Noble Dream too. And we have other financial destiny who have collapsed. So they should help us so that we will get our money. And talking about vigilante groups, to me, I think I was not impressed.
Why were you not impressed? You are looking for a specific answer?
Yeah, because to me, let's call the spade a spade. The president said he is not going to tolerate such things. We should condemn them. We should tell them that what they are doing is not right. But you hear a certain MP who say, oh, they have been following us, they are with us, and we go this place, we go this place. What if somebody who is in his house will go and, take an old man, old lady, go and vote for this person for me? What about that person too? So to me, let's condemn that act, that those people who are doing, going outside there, fighting, creating problems. Otunfo talked about them. And Nana, the president, also talking about them. So let's condemn that act, period.
You were not satisfied with the vice president's response to that? He says crime has no color. They are going to make sure that the law takes its course.
They will say it, as my elder brother said. They will say it, but they should implement it. Because you get somebody who will go to that police station and say, oh, Charlie, this person will also with that, so pardon this person, so that the person will go free. But if you are going to set an example, the person will go to jail, then it's going to set an example for others to follow. Nobody will do that. If they do that, come on, you have our peace of mind.
Well, that is his concern. Let me talk to this gentleman here. Your name, sir?
I'm Collins Frimpong. Okay, and I must say they have done well in 100 days in office, but I was expecting the Vice President, His Excellency, to lay more emphasis on the unemployment rate in the system. Because you know in the system there's a lot of graduates who are in their house looking for jobs, so I was expecting the President to lay more emphasis on what they are going to do about the unemployment rate in the system.
So to you, unemployment was a bit lacking in the Vice President's delivery?
I'm not saying lacking, but now that they are in the power, but I must say as time goes on, I know they will definitely do something about it. Yeah.
Well, there's another gentleman behind me here, and he has also been monitoring keenly. I was also looking at the reaction on your face as the Vice President went on with his delivery. What would be your assessment?
Oh, my assessment was, my brother just said it all. I wanted to condemn the vigilante groups, but he said it all, so I have nothing.
What do you have to say? Tell me. You are in Ashanti region. You have been affected in one way or the other. Were you okay with the Vice President's response that they are going to deal with it? The law will take its course.
No, I want the law to take it as you were saying, but let's forget it.
You don't think that the law will work in this sense?
They just said, but I want them to set an example for others to know that there is law in this country.
What kind of example will be okay for you? You think what example will serve as a deterrence for people?
I want them to punish those people who done that before, so that others will follow and learn from them, so that there is nothing like that come out from anybody.
Well, I have heard comments, for example, from the members of the public that indeed the 100 days of the NPP administration would have been flawless, going in a positive line, if not for the vigilante groups and their actions in Kumasi, in Accra, and elsewhere across the country. But Dr. Secretary, let me take your take on that one. This is Ashanti region. This is where the action happened with regards to the Delta Force. Were you expecting more, aside what the Vice President said?
I think the Vice President was very tactical because, you know, this is their World Bank, and also judging from those who have spoken in favor of the vigilante groups and the kind of power that they wield in the party. I mean, he was tactical by saying that let us not personalize it. Let's deal with it holistically, and therefore we work with what the law says. I mean, as a politician, you must always be tactical in the things that you say, especially knowing where you are standing and where your comments are coming from. But particularly, I was happy with a hint that he dropped. You know, over the years, people have misconstrued how the 1 million per constituency is going to be spent. And when you speak to many of the constituency executives, they think it's money that is coming straight to the constituency, and that the constituency chairman, the secretary, and the executives are going to determine which account the money will be in and how the money is going to be spent, etc., etc. But if you listen to him carefully, today he nailed it right on the head, that money is going to be lodged in a special Bank of Ghana account. Now, whichever contractor is awarded a duty to do, then that person will be paid from that account from the Bank of Ghana, which therefore means that the money will not come down and land in the hands of some unscrupulous people at the constituency level. And I'm sure by this explanation that he gave, people who thought that money was coming and that it was going to be a payday have begun revising their notes, because we are all wondering how $1 million was coming to the constituency and how that money was going to be spent. So particularly, I was happy with that response. And I'm sure before that money even goes out, my thinking is that all constituencies ought to be mandated to bring a spending plan, the projects that they intend to use that $1 million for, the accountability procedures, the checks, the contractors, and their backgrounds, so that at the end of the day, it's not going to be an avenue for people just to spend money because they helped in bringing the party to power.
Well, thank you. And what would you say finally?
Well, what I would say is my interest actually lies in the order of the one district, one factory. You see that if you go to the oil-producing areas like Takoradi, Sekondi, all those places, the indigenous, the poor people there, now things are very expensive. When you talk about rent, everything is now expensive. But they are not benefiting from the oil that we are having. It's the foreigners that are doing the mining and all those things. I don't want the same thing to happen to the one district, one factory. So I really wanted to have asked a question about how would the concrete policies that are being put in place to make sure that the indigenous local poor people will actually be part of the one district, one factory and actually benefit, and that those initiatives will not go to only the rich and then the foreigners. Remember, Dr. Bawumia just told us that government has set aside $450 million for that project. So how does it trickle down to the ordinary person on the street? So we should know exactly how people are going to benefit from this project at the grassroots level.
Well, those are comments from our guest who joined us for the time with the Vice President from here, Kumasi, Dr. Ebenezer Usu-Sesre, UDS Tamale, and I also have Mr. Gordon Newlove Asamoah, also Center for Economic and Business Research, and Pato and the other guys behind me. They joined us this morning with the time with the Vice President. My name is Erastus Asare-Donko. Thank you very much. Over to you, Benis Abubedu in the studio.
Well, thank you very much, Erastus Asare-Donko, coming to us live from Kumasi with people sharing their thoughts on Time with the Vice.
I, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, having been elected